Hey everybody, Jerry Williams, aka Greater Sapien here. Thanks for stopping by. Okay, Severance fans, today I'm going to be recapping and reviewing Season 2, Episode 5, Trojan's Horse. When we last saw the MDR team, Irving had just been fired, and the order had been given to shut him down and erase his innie's existence. And in classic Severance fashion, we don't start from there, we open on something completely different. Some dude we've never seen before wheels a cart to a storage area of optics and design and picks up what appears to be a tray of dental tools. He then wheels a cart down the dark hallway that we now know as Exports Hall and goes in that notorious elevator. Ding! After the opening credits, we see Mark getting ready for the day and talking to his sister Devon about what he was told about the retreat. They acknowledge they don't know what to believe. As Mark drinks a rank drink that looks like bad kombucha that he comes from the reintegration doctor, we learn his sister still thinks he's trying to burn images into his eyes to send messages. Apparently, the doctor is crashing in Mark's basement, and Mark is frustrated with the lack of progress with the reintegration. Meanwhile, Helena apparently doesn't have the power I thought she had, as she is being made to go back on the severed floor against her will. She considers the innies animals and doesn't want to do it. When she loses that battle, she says that she could fake it again, but that is shot down. They say Milchick's mistakes need to be fixed, so apparently that entire retreat, the Ortbo, which is an anagram for robot, was Milchick's doing, or at least he's catching the blame for it. Finishing Cold Harbor is too important, and Mark is the one to do it, so they need Helly to be there, or else he won't work. So, under duress, she goes back in. Helly comes out of the elevator confused by Miss Wong's existence, and we have to remember that Helly knows nothing of what has happened since the overtime contingency. Milchick explains to the group about the Glasgow block that allowed Helena to take Helly's place. While Mark questions whether or not Helly is Helly, it's pretty easy to confirm, by the way. He just needs to watch her walk. Sister girl has got her swagger walk back. Dylan wonders where Irving is, and Helly is in shock that her life was taken over. Milchick tells a silly lie about Helena doing research, but no one is buying it. And he says Irving's Audi went on a cruise and is fine. All of their questioning makes me wonder again what they saw when Irving was shut down. And I think the answer goes back to when Dylan was back in the security office starting the OTC. The settings on the screen, the setting screen that had the overtime contingency also had the Glasgow block listed along with a whole bunch of other settings. Beehive, branch transfer, clean slate, elephant, freeze frame, goldfish, lullaby, and open house. Of course, we don't know what these settings are, but many of them sound like they could have been used at the end of the last episode. Lullaby could be a setting that puts them all to sleep, allowing them to be moved, or freeze frame could stop them all in their tracks, and goldfish could make them not remember something they had just seen. Any of those would explain why apparently there was zero conversation between the last episode and this one, and no one mentions seeing what happened to Irving B. They're taken back to their office where it's been rearranged to be as if Irving was never there. His desk is gone, and they photoshopped him out of pictures. Dylan asks to have a funeral for Irving B, and Helly agrees. Mark doesn't seem to care. Helly reaches out to him, but he's keeping his distance. It strikes me that Mark is very much like an emotional teenager who has had a heartbreak. He's numb. He doesn't care about anything. Everything just sucks. He's defeated. As Milchick and Miss Huang prepare for the funeral with pre-made supplies, by the way, they are kind of prepared for any of them to die. Miss Huang shows a bit of attitude with Milchick in a way that makes me even more curious about her backstory. They hold Irving's funeral in the old break room, which was converted into a small theater in episode 1 of this season. The room with the inappropriate, inspirational posters. After Dylan's eulogy for Irving, they are offered a fruit head that looks like Irving. Miss Wong gets to make one note on her theremin, but then Milchick shuts her down just to spite her. That is a funny moment of her going, oh. As the funeral splits up, since Mark is being such a dick, Dylan broadcasts the fact that Miss Casey is Mark's wife to Helly. Mark confesses that he's pretty much resigned to failure, since Lumen is so powerful and Helena gave them intel on all their plans, so he's bummed. We then have a great scene between Milchick and Natalie before his performance review. We recall that when the board gave Milchick the paintings of Keir as a black man, it affected him in some kind of way. He knows Natalie received a similar set of paintings, and he tries to appeal to her as another black person in a very white company to see if they can bond a bit over the oddness of that gift. Natalie gives him nothing in return. Her face, as always, shows a tremendous amount of conflict, but she isn't going to open up to him. Back at the funeral, Dylan, recalling Irving's last words to him, "Hang in there," goes to the poster on the wall titled "Hang in there," and finds Irving's directions to the export hall wedged behind it. Milchick has the most tedious performance review ever, where they criticize him for using too many big words and using paper clips backwards. I'm pretty sure Miss Wong is ratting him out. He is also told to really put the screws on the MDR team and stop trying kindness reforms. Then, Mark has a brief reintegration flash and decides to head out a little early. Unfortunately for him, Milchick, fresh from getting dressed down for 5 hours, is on a new mission to command MDR with an iron fist. Milchick gets all up in Mark's face to give him the "get your shit together" talk in his quiet, angry voice. But Mark is in full teenage I don't give a shit mode, and this scene has that dynamic of a teacher trying to reiterate how important education is to a student, and the kid is pushing back with, "What, so I can be a success like you?" So Milchick sticks the knife in and brings up the fact that Helly doesn't know Mark S. and Helena had sex during the Ortho. Again, I have to give credit to the cinematography here and the set construction, because to get this shot, they had to remove the back wall of the elevator and set the elevator set and put the camera back enough to zoom in and compress the space between Mark and Milchick. It really adds to the intrusion into Mark's personal space feel. We then get a scene of Devin reading the latest revisions of Ricken's book that he's made to specifically target severed employees at Lumen. And as much as the original can be criticized for being written like a hack, this one is pandering to the desires of Lumen to placate their employees. Ricken claims this version is a Trojan's horse to sneak his revolutionary ideas in. I really like the acting in this show, because when Ricken says Trojan's horse, Devin has just the tiniest smile in the corner of her mouth that says, "There he goes again, misusing a phrase, but I can't laugh because now is not the time." Her husband is ridiculous sometimes, and she knows it, but just breezes by it. They don't tell you in the dialogue that these people have deep history. They show you in the acting. Ricken sees this as a real chance at publishing success. Devin is truly bothered by the fact that Ricken is willing to sell out his vision to Lumen, a company they know is harming their employees and her brother specifically. We see Irving, as we suspected, not on a cruise, contacting someone on a payphone again and updating them on his firing. He suspects it's because the message he got to his innie about the export hall. He ends the call when he sees Bert G watching him from his car, and he confronts him. It turns out Bert G had been watching him because he wanted to know why Irving showed up banging on his door. It seems Lumen fired Bert for his innie having an unsanctioned erotic entanglement with another worker. Then Irving B showed up and Bert started to put things together. He invites Irving over for dinner the next evening. Again, some masterful acting from these two. Everything they say has the weight of the character's history behind it. Great writing, but truly elevated by Turturro and Walken. Back in Mark's basement, the doctor is looking for objects to spark Mark's reintegration, and in a discussion about his wife, Mark echoes a statement that his innie made earlier that day about Irving B. That his wife is not dead, she's just not here. And part of me wonders if being in a similar mental state sparks what happens next, because a few minutes later, a major reintegration moment happens. Mark begins to hear the voice of Miss Casey talking to him during their wellness sessions, and begins to have visions of the inside of Lumen and the severed floor. He doesn't seem to recognize the voice for a while. What's being said is kind of random to him, but we know that these are descriptions of him in his daily life. It seems to begin to sink in, and then he turns and sees Miss Casey speaking to him just before the vision ends, shaking him to the core. I can't help but think this is a moment similar to moments he must have had in the months after his wife Gemma died. Him waking up from extremely vivid, realistic dreams of her being alive and immediately feeling the loss again. End of episode. Okay, man oh man. So at the end of the last episode, we got the band back together before immediately splitting them up by firing Irving B 3 minutes later. Now the band is truly in pieces because they are all dealing with their own stuff. Mark is disillusioned about everything. Dylan is crushed by the loss of Irving and his feeling of having let him down. And Helly is all alone, ignorant of everything that has happened in the previous 4 episodes, and no one is helping her with her feelings of violation. I think the directions left by Irving B will spur Devon toward a mission of discovery, and maybe it was just me, but there seemed to be a little movement in Mark toward believing Helly in their last exchange. Helena had been very deferential to any idea he had, but Helly is calling him on his shit. That's a very Helly thing, and I think he noticed. Okay, that's it for my recap. Heads up, starting Friday the 21st, I will be in Norfolk, Virginia for a month, working probably 12, 15-hour days, so the format of these will change. I think it'll be easier for me to just record kind of watch-along videos where I watch the full episode on camera and comment as I go. These will be first-time viewing recordings, so you'll get my thoughts real time, and you can watch the episodes along with me. All right, until then, I'd like to hear your thoughts about the episode, the season so far, and anything you notice that I might have missed. So please leave a comment below. Take care, everybody. Peace.